No dudes, I'm not buying anything from Greggs. Just having a wander around. I lived in Preston for a little while and I worked in Preston for a long time. It's changed quite a bit. I'm just having a wander around. It's Friday lunchtime. The trial is over. Deliberations done. And just waiting now to go back in for the sentencing hearing, which I, as an ex-jury member, am entitled to go in and listen to. So there's that. So I've got about 50 minutes to kill, so I'm just having a wander around, getting some fresh air. Do you want to know about the trial? It's lasted for 3 weeks and it's been pretty intense at times. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I've relived the events of the 25th of August 2019. I have lived those moments, the seconds it took for a man to be beaten to death. I've lived those moments for the last 3 weeks and I don't particularly want to go into too many details, but yeah, it was a murder trial. 2 men, father and son, pleaded not guilty, pleaded self-defence, even though the worst the man that died did was put one of them on his arse, and he got straight back up, and him and his son beat a man at 69 years of age. He ended up with 50 odd injuries, 13 to the face, one of which most probably came from a hefty kick to his neck, and that caused a bleed on the brain, and he died. Most probably was dead at the scene. So there you go, that's what I've been doing for the last 3 weeks. How quickly life can be extinguished, how quickly life can end in seconds. No one went out intending for anyone to die, but in moments of anger, rage, that's what happened. So waiting to see what the judge has to say. But the man who was killed, his great grandson was born on the same night that his great granddad died. The court has been told this morning. So yeah, there's that. I'll be back shortly. Skip forward in time. I said I'd come back shortly, but I didn't. It's the following morning, it's Saturday morning for me. After the sentencing, I went home and my brain was full, so I didn't want to finish off the video. I wanted to have a rest, and so now here I am, back to my normal life. And yeah, 3 weeks out, doing something completely different. Something that I guess is a unique case. It's a once in a lifetime thing to do. And now back to normality. Whatever normality means, because of the current situation and the current situation that's evolving day on day. So very soon, hopefully, the new normal will be something completely different to what we in society have known forever, at least for a period of time. But this video is virus free, should I say, because I think some people are getting a bit fed up of the talk about it. As I said yesterday, I don't really want to talk about the specific details of the case, even though I'm allowed to now, but really out of respect to the victim's family You know, they've sat there for 3 weeks listening to detail after detail after detail, and although that's all now on public record, yeah, I had somewhat of a unique insight into it, and I think that should stay within our number. But it's made me reflect. So this is more a few minutes of reflection for me. Although the jury service surpassed my expectations in terms of the interest and the learning and all of that stuff from a personal perspective, a selfish perspective. But there are two sets of families whose lives are now far from normal, and they haven't been normal since the evening of the 25th of August 2019. One family lost a well-loved member of their number, and he will never go home. He will never see his grandchildren grow up or his great-grandchildren grow up because of a mindless, senseless few seconds of madness, absolute sheer madness. And their new normal now is one of life without Barry. But we can't forget there's another family that have been deeply, deeply affected. And I think in cases, criminal cases, where a member, or in this case 2 members of a family, are incarcerated for many, many years, those families suffer greatly as well. And it doesn't take anything away from the empathy that I've got for the victim's family, and nor should it yours, really. There's another family who've lost a dad, an uncle, a granddad, or a son, or a dad, or a partner, because father and son who committed the attack, and however horrific it was, and it certainly was way beyond any level of self-defence, that family have got to live not only with their 2 family members incarcerated for a minimum of 15 to 16 years as a minimum. I'll briefly mention sentencing at the end just for anybody who's interested, but they've lost those people. They can only see them, they can only have contact with them at prison visiting times. So those people will be absent for Christmases, birthdays, just everyday life. The normal for them becomes very, very different, and maybe it's something that they've been getting used to and maybe been expecting that would continue for a long, long time, because they have been incarcerated for 196 days up to yesterday while awaiting the trial. You know, it's a long time. 15 years is a long time, and you know, they didn't do anything wrong, did they? So they live in regret of what their family members did. They live with the shame. They also live in the community that has been, by extension, affected by this tragic circumstance that could have completely, wholly and totally been avoided had it not been for a few moments of madness. And I think all parties concerned will live with that regret for the rest of their lives. So certainly a moment of reflection there for me, because my family, I, have been affected by loss, not by murder, but by other criminal means. That's a story for another day. So just for anybody kind of not in the UK and is interested in sentencing for murder, I'll just take a minute or two to describe that. So In the UK, murder is punished by a mandatory, right, compulsory life imprisonment. Some people believe that when we say life imprisonment, we should mean life, but actually the UK sentencing guidelines are such that judges have got some leeway in what they mean by life. Life means a minimum term of 15 years, at which point then the prisoner becomes eligible for parole. It doesn't mean that they're going to be released, it just means that they're eligible to be considered for release. So I guess it depends on how much they've reformed, how much they've behaved themselves while they're in prison, etc, etc, etc. So one of the offenders has been imprisoned for that minimum term, minimum of 15 years. The other one, who was kind of more culpable in terms of he started it, he's got a minimum term of 16 years before either of them are eligible for parole. If they do get parole, they remain on licence for the rest of their lives. So it basically means that if they do anything whatever wrong again in the future, they are recalled back to prison immediately. So they'll be on licence for the rest of their lives. So they're going to be, you know, under the scrutiny of the criminal justice system forever. And one of them is still a relatively young man. He's 30, he's 31 next week. The other one is 57. So, you know, this is a long-term thing that the Criminal Justice Service has rightly imposed on them. But in my moments of reflection, those two families are forever changed, forever a new normal. Just a summary of what I've been doing for the last 3 weeks and my reflections upon it. I hope you enjoyed. It's a little bit different than the content that I've been covering recently, because I've either been covering the virus or I've been covering the carnivores. There is more kind of vegan specific content coming, don't worry. I just feel that the virus is so incredibly important and is relevant to veganism. You've got to say this, it's relevant to veganism. It's incredibly important, so I am spending time on that on my channel, and I will continue to do so. It's not going to become the virus channel of the internet, not daily, but I do want to carry on covering it. But there's more vegan content coming, so look forward to that. If you're not yet subscribed and you want to see the variety of my content on a daily basis, I do 365 content every single day. I release a video, and I've been doing so for over a year now. So if you want to know what I was talking about on this day last year, go down in the description box and you'll see a link to last year's video. Please subscribe, help the channel grow. I've just reached 3k subs, so that's great. Thank you for everyone who's stuck with me, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye guys.